Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong. Welcome to the back office. Today I'm making a fantastical thing. So I'll show you some of the parts I'll be using. And then maybe you might be able to guess what it is. Yes, indeedy. I'm finally going to take the Cyclops unit. You saw I did a sort of C64 hack by injecting composite signals straight through here and yanking out its sort of motherboard thing. What I'm going to do now is replace this motherboard with a Raspberry Pi 3. And I know what you're saying. Why using a Raspberry Pi 3? It's so huge where you can slip in a Raspberry Pi 0 so easily. And I'll tell you my reasoning here. One, Raspberry Pi 2 does not have the audio circuitry, so I can get an audio out to be amplified through the speaker. And the issue with that is you could build them. The circuit on the Raspberry Pi 2 and 3 is actually basically on sort of using GPIO as a PWM to make the sound, but I don't really have the time nor the patience really to make that right now. And then two, you need a joystick interface, and I have here one of these NES. Look at this, it's wonderful. It's actually a NES control. Look, it looks like a NES controller, but it's more like a SNES in that it's got shoulder buttons and all of the other buttons. So these would be brilliant for Retro Pi, and it's Bluetooth, so that's going to be great. So if I wanted to use something like that on this, I'd have to get a Bluetooth adapter. Because there's no USB hub on here, I'd have to attach a hub and then attach a Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi if I wanted the Wi-Fi, or maybe I could use on the go to go straight to Bluetooth. It's just a pain in the ass. And the reason I like these is because you have Wi-Fi, you can log into them remotely and then make use of the full thing. That's why I've got such a big card in here. I've got indeed a 64GB card. So once it's installed, it's never going to be touched basically. But you'll be able to use this whole headset pretty much as a whole Linux system. So you could just use it for what you want. So that just gives me a little bit more leg room in the future. And okay, at the expense though of having to jam that in. So first things first, we're going to try to open this up and basically desolder any mods we've done in there that we don't need anymore. So we've got things like this USB for power. We've decided we're going to use this USB type power bank as our power source, which is great, but we know that this USB cable is too thin, so I've got one of these so we can make our own cable to make sure we've got a nice fat high current source there that's going to drive everything. So this is a 2000 milliamp hour battery, so it should be enough for us. So first things first, let's just crack on and open this up. We're de-lidded. First thing we're going to do is again take the optics out. You can see it's pretty messed up and dirty from last time I was playing with it. However, luckily that didn't seem to affect its performance too much, so that was good. We're going to gingerly take the screen out, and we know from before, I'll show you, we have the power. The red and black, the first two are power. Then we seem to have a dead one that doesn't do anything, probably from a second input that's not used. Then the composite from the video source. And then these two buttons control the menu controls from the actual unit. So we're going to just unplug that. And then that screen can go away nice and safe in a box. Remember, we don't want to just damage that at all. That's so delicate. Let's leave that be. So the first thing we're going to do is just strip out all of this stuff. So a lot of it is stuff I fitted actually, but that's fine. We don't need it. We've done our experiment. We know what we can do now. We'll keep that bit. That'll make a good battery snap for something else. So the rest is looking pretty darn good, I think. Although the wires are all bloody tight around everything, we can reuse this. So we're just going to apply power there. We've got a 3v3 supply actually on the Raspberry Pi, so that's fine. That'll be a good power source for this. This is actually a mic input, so we probably won't be using that on this. The LEDs I might just leave on there for now in case we might want to try a little light show on the unit. So that's great. All I'm going to do is actually just chop this wire at some point, and I'm going to reuse the cable in that once I start soldering things to the Raspberry Pi. So I think the next stage is for me just to have to lay out all of the components that are going to go in the case, and then I'll figure out how to get them in the case before we finally screw them all up and solder all the wires together. Hi, I'm back. You can see I've assembled all the bits and pieces here. So we have the screen hooked up to the Raspberry Pi. We have the amp powered from the 3v3 lines from the Raspberry Pi and then looped back around into the audio port. And remember, the video, the composite video, actually comes out of the same port. So I've had to put a little bit of plastic in just to stop it shorting out the video signal. But when we actually assemble this up, I might just solder the audio straight into the back of that. So what I'm going to do, just before I forget, I've also got a joypad thing, and this is a Bluetooth and wired. It will apparently act in wired mode if it's connected. But when I plug it in, it actually crashes the unit because it tries to charge, and there's so much current being drawn, nothing really, the voltage dropping too much, and it's crashing the Raspberry Pi. So I'm charging that separately. So that's why I'm just using a wired control pad with the same functionality. Something interesting, I'm looking at the sort of ammeter here, and we're talking about 790 milliamps just for this setup alone. That's with the speakers up. So when I turn the speakers on, now I'll put it in the mode which doesn't flash the LEDs to give it sort of to be fair. That's about 800 milliamps, so it's really quite high. I mean, if you imagine that you're going to try to run this off batteries or something, it's going to be a hell of a draw. And the reason is, a lot of it is down to, obviously the screen's a fair bit, but the Raspberry Pi 3 is definitely a power-hungry beast. So there's going to be some limitations here. I don't know how long it will run if you're going to try to use it on batteries, but it's still a neat thing. I've installed RetroPie. I just put the ISO image or the ROM image onto the SD card, and that's booted up. I put one ROM file via Wi-Fi. I set the Wi-Fi up on this using just a keyboard to put in the SSID number, the WPA key. So once you've set the Wi-Fi up, you can pretty much just put it in your case because you can access it then whenever you want, even if it's in there. So I put the Tetris ROM on there, and that's what you saw, and it's working great. So really, I could just put this all back in the box. But what I'll do now, before I do that, I'm just going to unplug the non-essential things, and I'm going to flip it over so you can have a look at the connections I've made. So if you're going to do the same thing, you can just make exactly the same connections. There's nothing too extreme here. So these two wires are hooked up to a USB plug, just directly. And I use some fat wires because I don't want too much voltage drop. And they're soldered basically onto the sort of connectors for the plus and minus on the actual display driver. And that's because I just didn't have room on the Raspberry Pi end. It's getting a bit too tight there, and the chance of shorting out something are pretty high. So I've just gone on that. So basically the power's going to the display is going to the Raspberry Pi, and then this is the video line, which is this first wire here, and then this is connected to here, which is connected in turn to here, which is the central pin, this extra pin that they've got here for the video output. So just to sort of zoom in on that again, if you can see this, that's the center pin. There's a little tang here that touches the very end of a video, sort of video version of this audio lead, and that's it there. It just goes straight across to there. The video ground you don't have to worry about because that's just standard common ground. Audio, again, I've sort of taken the power from a 3v3 as I mentioned earlier, but I'm just using this. So what I'd have to do is just buzz out here to see which is the L and the R and the common ground again. You can just sort of solder it straight on the back there. So that's it really. I'm going to probably desolder now a lot of this and then actually work out how I'm going to fit it in the case, and then work backwards really and just start soldering everything back up. Again, one last thing though to think about is I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the power. So I might just bring a fat wire outside of the case for now and then work out how to mount a battery. Looking at it, there is a thing on the back though for a battery to go behind your head, and that's quite good because that'll counterlever the whole unit, so you don't sort of you don't feel like you're dragging your head down. It'll pull it back a bit with a big old battery there, perhaps a motorbike battery. Hopefully not, but we'll see. So the next bit now, I'm just going to probably jump cut and start putting the stuff in the case. So you can see I've got most of the components installed now in the unit. I'm going to explain this layout a little bit later, but before I do that, I thought what I'll do is actually get this USB extension lead and try to get that to fit, because that'd be kind of useful as well, just in case the Bluetooth doesn't work, something like that. You've still got the option of putting in a keyboard, and because there is a USB hub, it does give you more endpoints. So you could plug a hub into this and then plug multiple devices outside of that into your Raspberry Pi 3. So that's good. You won't be totally stranded if it doesn't work. So I'm just going to try to make this a bit more articulated, because you can see there it's kind of going to crash into everything else as it stands. This might end very, very badly. So I'm going to try to sort of just slice the overmoulding away, sort of whittle it without hopefully cutting the wires. And I have to put quite a lot of force. You can see the blade is bending significantly, but I really want to have an away cut. I don't want to cut towards me. There we go. Woohoo! Getting close there, green wire. So it shows you how far you can play with. Not well. It's actually more further than you think, but you don't want to take it for granted. So I'm going to cut away from the overmolded strain relief. Another couple of slices. Because I don't have many spare of this, but I guess it doesn't matter too much, because if I do frag the wire, I do have loads of these ends, so I could just cut this and actually solder a USB connector to the end. But yeah, it's nice to not have to do that, so let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Again, this is kind of more like a system integration project, really, so I'm just taking these bits and pieces to make a prototype. So when you're doing that, you really don't want to waste time where you can avoid it. Getting there. You could just use side cutters as well and just sort of slightly nibble away at the corners, slowly and steadily. But I'm just a bit more haphazard with it. I'm not sure how much I need to take. Ah, I almost cut through a wire there. Almost by actually cutting through the green. So I guess that makes it all moot. I'll have to cut this and solder it. Jump cut. Okay, let's try that again. It's all done now. Bit of hot snot to act as a cable strain relief. Nice. Look at that. 90-degree USB. Custom. Totally custom. 100%. God, I wish when you leave the glue gun glue on for ages before you use it, the glue is sort of like superheated. It takes ages to cool down. So you've got choices here. You could wet your fingers and smush that and it might harden a bit quicker. Or I guess you just let it be. Right, that's good enough for now though. Let's see if I can kind of squeeze it in there. It'd be nice to get it in the, I don't know, I should get it in the bottom one, I think. Should be okay. I'm going to lick my finger because I'm going to have to touch it to push it in and it might stick to me. Ah, it's so toasty. But it's in. Look at that. Good. Just zoom out a bit so you can see what we're dealing with here. That's basically in there. And because this USB is going to go out the same hole as the headset thing, which is this one, it does give us the opportunity to sort of put the tiniest amount of strain relief on it, and we're going to do that by using this exceptionally long cable tie. I didn't know where my short cable ties have got to, but I'm just going to give it a little bit of a generous bit here. That's pretty darn good. What a waste though, what a waste. Need to get some shorter ones, must have run out. Just sort of pop that in there and then just pop the wire along the edge. So I could make a channel for this wire, but I don't think I'm going to bother. It's going to dangle out like that. And I'll find a way of, you know, hooking it onto the elastic like this, because on the other side you've got this nice little channel that you can use to sort of route your cable up. So I think that really means it's time to start thinking about putting this together. Now, I haven't powered it on whilst it's, you know, been in this enclosure, so that's kind of a danger. I see that as a slight risk to me, but I'm looking around here. I think I need to wipe the screen. Wherever did I put all those bits and pieces? There it is. So I'm going to use the opportunity to wipe the screen. The focus of the Fresnel lens isn't that important, but I don't really... Oh gosh, it's really filthy. There's glue gun glue everywhere in here. The focus of the Fresnel screen isn't that important, but I think I'm just going to put a touch of glue gun on it just to stop it moving around, because that's going to be pretty annoying if it actually goes oblique. So if it's sort of uneven, you'll notice that. I don't think you'll notice it that much if it's a bit too close or a bit too far away. So we're going to decide where it's going to be. We're going to push the pie back down. Let's just get all of the wires routed, pushed down. The speaker is still floating, actually. I haven't fitted that yet because there is a feature on the actual enclosure that means it might hit that, but I'm not going to worry about it till we sort of get to that point. So I'm just adjusting this. Looks straight. Because, as I said, I want to put an ever such a small amount, but an amount of glue gun in there. So it's either wrong or it's right. It's not going to move either way. One more bit should do it. I have to get rid of all these sort of glue gun spiders webs, because they're in the area. Anything in here basically can be seen, so you don't want anything left if you can help it. Last opportunity to wipe it all down before we put everything back, so I'm just going to take that. Not going to do anything with these holes. There's a hole here. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can just make a cap for the outside. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to plug it from the inside. Again, I made this same sort of strain relief on this side, but it's a bit long. Let's cut that. It's going to be annoying. Let's try the first test fit of our lid then. Bear in mind we've got this speaker right at the front here that may or may not be in the way. It almost certainly looks like it's in the way. It'll make you wonder if that speaker should be facing frontwards or backwards, but it's more or less just totally encapsulated, so all bets are off on how it's going to function. Tiny bit of glue gun, actually, glue on here, which is going to cause a problem. I just noticed that. Let's get rid of that. I can tidy up any external bits of glue gun webs afterwards. Right, let's try again. Moment of truth. I tell you, it's not kind of instantly wanting to sort of fall into place like it was when we took it apart, that's for sure. But just going to slowly see what it's hitting. Ah, yeah, it's getting there. What we've got here is a screw hole. I'll show you. I've actually got a screw hole right in here. See it? This wire was kind of getting blocked. So we're going to see how can we route our cables such that they're not going to get in the way of that. I think we're just going to have to cut off that cable tie. It's pretty much our only option, and then we can hopefully just route the wires either side. Okay, rerouted the wires, nibbled a bit in there, nibbled a bit on the edge of the case. Let's see if it finally will go together. I think it's just a case of trial and error if you're trying this at home. Just keep on nibbling until something gives. Hopefully it won't be your patience. Yeah, come on, you're so close. You're so close. I can feel it. I got a feeling. Do, 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 do. Something here. Ah. Yes. Look at that. I'm almost too scared to squeeze the bloody thing. At least there's some final thing I'm destroying accidentally. I thought there was a bit of something rattly going on inside, but that was just me. There's my strain relief, preventing it from shutting. Ah. These are my doofers that I sort of glue gunned shut, so you don't want anybody to adjust those. It's non-adjustable now. Just going to put it on my head, see if there's any light bleeding in. No, that's pretty sealed. Okay, going to risk putting the screws in. That's always always the ultimate risk, right? Last screw, moment of truth, eh? There we go. Right, just need to go find a suitable power source. Gosh, it's been a long few hours, but I'm finally there. Look at that. Game board. Found a bench power supply that does 5 volts at 6 amps, so that's a beefy power supply. So until I get a battery, that's going to have to do. I might have to extend that wire if I do want to actually have a proper play of this. Got the control pad plugged in because I haven't set up the Bluetooth yet. Tested out the USB, that all works good. Just show you how what you can do with this. Also, if you want, you can. I'll unplug the joypad. You can take this Velcro bit off, and you can actually tuck the wire of your USB rather neatly there. So look, that's quite cute. And plug your joypad in and then play some games. So I'll just fold this back and I'm going to try to play one-handed, which always isn't quite right. So you can see in there's Game Boy. You're not going to be able to read the game titles as it stands with the sort of default settings for colour and brightness and whatnot. Font size. And there you have it, Tetris. So there's nothing really stopping you now. You can hear the sound, by the way. There's nothing, I'm just going to turn that off now. There's nothing actually stopping you from launching any sort of game now, arcade game, anything that basically a Raspberry Pi running RetroPie or MAME would normally run. So I've you've seen Raspberry Pis running all sorts of arcades, Neo Geo, Street Fighter, all of those things. So you've got that all now, all basically on the top of your head. So armed with your joypad, or hopefully Bluetooth joypad once it's actually charged up. So you've got no wires there. If you get a battery pack that hooks on the back, then that's it. That's your solution. So I'm going to give this a go and see if there's any last minute modifications I'd like to make. Yes, sirree. Time for some games. What shall we play? Ooh. A little bit of UN Squadron. My gosh, it looks so amazing. Yeah, baby. I can't believe how good these graphics just up front, up close, just are so smooth. You wouldn't think you'd have enough resolution, but it's brilliant. Uh-oh. Woohoo! Yeah! amazing. This is amazing. Tell you what, it's almost like as if it is 3D. I don't know why there's such a weird parallax effect, but it's great, man. E-Honda, you bastard! Woo! It's like I'm in E-Honda's bathtub. Yes. Judo punch! No! No! Yes! Screw you, E-Honda! Gotcha! Woo! How do I show you this? Just trust me, it's good. It's real good. Time for a bit of Shinobi on the Mega Drive. I think that's a must-try title. Oh, yes! Sounds amazing. Whoa. I tell you what, you're missing us. It is phenomenal. It really is like, I don't know, it's like your own Sega cinema. Get in there. Have it. So hard to play and record this. Enough of that though, just trust me, it works. It works amazingly well. You know what, I gotta end this video because I just gotta start playing it. Sorry, I'm too busy. Get away now. Bye.